Hi, I'm Emily Ladd.
And I'm Lindsay Mills.
Our honors final project was inspired by one of the most famous detectives of all time, the one and only Sherlock Holmes.
We created a short film in honor of one of Holmes and Watson's most triumphant, though flawed, victories, The Adventure of the Speckled Band.
We would like to thank our willing but inexperienced cast for all of their help.
I managed the directing as well as some amateur acting.
And the editing and special effects was done by yours truly.
We hope you enjoy our effort to bring tribute to one of detective fiction's finest.
Feel free to laugh and applaud, if only just to make us feel better.
Good evening, madam. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my dear and intimate friend, John Watson. I observe you're shivering. Are you cold?
It is not from the cold that I shiver.
What then?
It is fear. It is pure terror.
You have nothing to be afraid of. We'll handle everything. You're safe with us.
Now, tell us everything.
My name is Helen Stoner, and I live with my stepfather, one of the last royalets of Stoke Moran.
The name is familiar to me. Dr. Grimsby Roylett, is it not?
Yes, my stepfather, a formidable individual.
Surely it is not he who you fear.
No, what I fear is a whistle.
A whistle?
I know it sounds strange, but it is this very whistle that heralded the death of my sister Julia.
And when was this?
2 years ago. She heard the whistle each night before her death.
How did she die?
In terrible agony. Just a week before her wedding, she burst into my chambers, screaming and gasping for breath. She died almost at once.
And the whistle?
I heard it myself that night, as she lay dying.
And what caused her end?
That was never determined.
I presume there was an official inquest.
There was, but the coroner never found a satisfactory cause of death.
And why are you here? Why do you need us?
Just 2 days ago, repairs were started on the west wing of the building. They forced me to move from my room to the room in which my sister slept. To sleep in the very bed in which she slept. How could I rest? Then try to imagine my terror when I lay awake at night, thinking of her mysterious and terrible death, only to hear that very dreaded whistle that heralded her death.
The same. Are you certain?
The very same. I sprung up out of bed and lit a lamp, but there was nothing to be seen. However, I was too shaken to go back to bed, so I slipped down to London and came here to seek your advice.
You've chosen wisely. There are 1,000 details for which I desire to know before we plot a course of action. Is it possible for the doctor and I to come to Stoke Moran today to observe the grounds without the knowledge of your stepfather?
As it happens, he spoke of coming into town today on some important business. It's probable he'll be away all day.
Excellent. At what time do you propose we leave London?
I have a few things I wish to take care of in town, but I should return by the 12 o'clock train.
We will meet you at the station.
Well, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, you've now seen my bedroom.
With no pressing needs for repairs on the end wall.
Exactly, and Dr. Roylett's room.
A very interesting study. What did you think of it, Watson?
Think of it.
Yes, let's test your observation skills. What did you think of the fine doctor's study?
Well, there was the bookshelf filled with a couple of books, mainly of the technical character. There was the table, a couple of chairs, and then there was a safe. Large iron safe, to be more specific. Those were the things that mainly caught my eye.
And on top of the safe?
A saucer of milk.
Excellent. Your observation skills are definitely growing. Miss Stoner, does your stepfather keep a cat on the premise?
Why, no, just the cheetah I told you about.
Ah, of course.
What is a cheetah but a large cat?
Indeed. And yet a saucer isn't big enough to satisfy a cheetah's needs. Watson, did you notice the dog leash on the bedroom?
No.
We do not have a dog either.
It was not intended for a dog. It was wrapped upon itself like a noose.
What could that mean?
Now, let us turn our attention to this chamber. What do you make of the bell pull, Watson?
Doesn't make any sound.
Of course it's not ringing. What were you, dropped on your head? Look at it. It's not even attached to anything. It's just sitting on that hook up there.
How very absurd. I've never noticed that before.
And you see that ventilator shaft up there by the hook? It obviously isn't connected to the outside, but to Dr. Roylett's chambers. You will also note, Doctor, that the bed is clamped to the floor.
What could you suppose that means?
Indeed what? We have a ventilator made, a bell pull, and a bed clamped to the floor.
These remarks are as unnerving as they are incomprehensible. What are you saying?
Just this, Miss Stoner. Your life may be in danger. You need to follow my advice in every respect.
I shall certainly do so.
You will retire to this room tonight on the pretense of a headache when your father returns. When you hear him retire, you will put your lamp in the window, signaling us to come forward. Then you will take all of your things into your old bedroom, which I assure you will have no problem sleeping in for just one night.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Thank you. You will leave the rest into our hands. Hit it.
But what will you do?
We will stay in this room tonight and determine the cause of this dreadful whistle that you so much fear.
I believe, Mr. Holmes, that you've already made up your mind.
I might have.
Then please tell me, what was the cause of my sister's death?
I should prefer to have clearer evidence before I give you my reasoning.
You can at least tell me if my thought was correct. Did she die of some terrible fright?
No, I believe there were more tangible causes for your sister's death. The doctor and I must leave you now. If Dr. Roylett were to return while we were here, our journey would be in vain. Please don't be afraid. I believe after the night is over, we will have shaken these fears that haunt this bedroom.
We must be off. Holmes, it's 3 o'clock. We've been sitting here for hours. What are we waiting for?
Patience, my dear friend.
The lamp's up.
What?
God damn it. Oh my god, what the crap was that?
It's the cheetah Mrs. Stoner was speaking of earlier. But, can you smell that odor?
What is that?
What you're smelling is hot oil burning in metal. Dr. Roylett's lit a lamp. Flash it back!
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! What is it? What is it?
Do you see it? It's right there! Get it! Get it! Get it!
I can't see a thing! The whistle. Just like what she said. The whistle.
Just as I expected! And now we'll be waiting.
Ah! What the crap does that mean?
It means that this is all over, Watson. Probably for the best. Now let's go to Dr. Roylett's room. Behold, there's your speckled band.
Holmes, it's still moving.
Of course, it's a swamp adder. Steer clear, Watson. It's the deadliest snake in India.
Can we help him?
No, he's far gone. He's done. No. A victim of his own diabolic scheme. He sent that serpent down the ventilator every night, knowing sooner or later it would bite Miss Stoner. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about any inheritance going to their wedding.
The fiend!
Indeed, he would send it over every night, and then sum it back with that whistle. He would then reward it by giving it sips from that milk saucer we saw. And then, with the dog leash, he would grasp it and lead it back to the safe, where we keep it until the next night.
So why did the creature kill its own master?
I believe I scared it earlier, maybe even injured it. That's why it crawled back up the ventilator shaft and it attacked the first person it saw, which happened to be Dr. Roylett there. I guess you could indirectly say that I am the cause of Dr. Roylett's death.
I must say it won't heavily weigh on my conscience.